Ever feel like you're just going through the motions, kind of lost in that day-to-day grind? It's got to be something more to life.
Yeah.
Well, today we're diving deep into Chapter 9 of the Bhagavad Gita. Claims to have some answers. And to help us unpack it all, we've got this fascinating paper, really digs into this ancient wisdom,
Yeah.
In a way that might surprise you.
Yeah, what's interesting about Chapter 9 is it doesn't just throw these big spiritual ideas around.
Right.
It gets right down to the how-to. Like, how do you actually find peace? How do you find real purpose? Especially in a world that, let's face it, feels chaotic.
Okay, so how does it do that? Where do we even begin with something as, well, profound as the Gita?
Good question. Well, Chapter 9 starts by talking about the self.
Okay.
And I mean, with a capital S. We're not talking about, like, your personality here.
Yeah. Right. Not your ego, but that eternal essence we all share.
Okay. So how do we even wrap our heads around that, this idea of the self?
So the source uses this really helpful analogy. Imagine a post, right, standing firm in the ground.
Okay.
And around it, there's a ghost just flitting about.
Okay.
So the post, that's your real self. Unchanging, totally unfazed by the whirlwind of life. But the ghost, that's the illusion, right? That we often mistake for the real deal. Our thoughts, emotions, experiences, they come and go.
So most of us, we're walking around thinking we're the ghosts.
Exactly.
When really we're this solid, unchanging post.
You got it. And we get so caught up in the day-to-day,
Oh, tell me about it.
Deadlines, relationships, our never-ending to-do lists, that we lose sight of this deeper, unchanging part of ourselves. Yeah, that makes sense. But how do we connect with that part? How do we stop being so attached to being the ghost?
Well, Chapter 9 says it's all about understanding action and consequence, which is what we're going to dive into next.
So we're starting to see ourselves as the post, not the ghost.
Right.
Which is, wow, that's a pretty profound shift when you think about it.
It is.
But how does understanding that help us, actually navigate this chaos of life?
Yeah.
That's where the action part comes in, right?
Exactly, yeah. Chapter 9 goes deep into this whole idea of karma yoga, which is basically the path of action and consequence.
Okay.
But it's not like following some rule book.
Right.
It's more about, like, bringing this awareness, this real intention to everything you do.
So it's not just what you do, it's why you're doing it.
Exactly. The text really emphasizes this point. Even a simple act done with the right intention can be so powerful. Like our source mentions this example, offering a leaf, a flower, even just water, but with true devotion. It's not about the thing itself, you see, but the intention, the pure intention behind it.
That's a powerful image. But what's that look like practically? Like, can just paying attention to why I'm doing something, can that really make a difference?
According to Chapter 9, absolutely. It's about shifting your mindset, It's less about what's in it for me and more about how can I serve something bigger, aligning your actions with something bigger than yourself.
So it's not like you got to become a saint overnight. It's more about bringing that awareness into what you're already doing every day.
Exactly. And this is where Chapter 9 gets really interesting. It even says that someone who's made mistakes, like what they call the worst sinner, they can still find redemption through devotion and right action.
That's kind of a radical idea for the time. Like, anyone can change no matter what.
It is.
But hold on, if there's a right way to act, there's got to be a wrong way too. What does the source say about that? So we were talking about the wrong ways to act. What's the Gita have to say about that?
Well, it's less about giving you a list of don'ts.
Right.
And more about really getting those motivations behind our actions. Like, why are we doing what we're doing?
Right.
So the source says those actions driven by ego, attachment, or just that desire for personal gain, that's the stuff that ultimately leads to more suffering.
So even if we're like super successful in the world's eyes, if it's built on those things, it's not going to bring lasting peace.
Yeah, it's like trying to build a house on a foundation of sand. It might look good at first.
Right.
But it's just not going to last.
It's going to crumble. So if we're trying to, build a life on more solid ground, what does that look like according to Chapter 9? What's like the ultimate goal here?
So the text talks about two main aspirations, Shanti and Moksha.
Okay.
Shanti, that means inner peace. That unshakable sense of calm that comes from connecting with your true self.
Yeah.
And then moksha, that refers to liberation. So freedom from that cycle of suffering and rebirth.
Okay. Those sound like some pretty lofty goals. Are those really achievable for, everyday people like us? Not all of us can just drop everything and go live in a monastery.
And that's what's so cool about Chapter 9, right? It really emphasizes that this stuff, it's not just for monks and mystics.
Right.
It talks about these Radharishis, these ancient kings, who are also spiritual masters.
Ah.
Proof that you could live in the world with all its complexities and still reach this incredible level of spiritual awareness.
So it's about finding that balance.
Yeah.
Living in the world, but not being totally consumed by it.
Exactly. And the Gita says that by aligning your actions with the divine, with that greater purpose, you actually start to experience more peace and fulfillment, right here, right now.
It's like we're not just going through the motions anymore. We're acting with intention, with awareness, like we're plugging into something so much bigger.
And in doing that, you start to embody that unshakable self, that post we talked about,
Right.
becoming less like the ghost and more like that solid ground beneath our feet.
I love that. It's like we're finally finding our footing in the middle of all this chaos.
Exactly. And that's the real gift of Chapter 9. It gives us this roadmap, this way to move through life's challenges with more grace, with purpose, and ultimately with a deeper sense of peace.
This whole deep dive has really given me so much to think about. Like, I have this whole new perspective on how to approach my everyday life.
That's amazing. And remember, this is just the beginning. The Gita invites us to keep exploring, keep asking questions, and keep aligning ourselves with that deeper truth that's already inside us.
Absolutely. And then it will leave you with a question to ponder. The Source describes the divine in all these different ways, as a father, a mother, a goal, sustainer, a friend even. Which of those resonates with you most right now, and why? Let us know what you discover as you continue your own deep dive. Until next time.